step up on us, step up on us. Diamond, 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 diamond. Diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on us, step up on us.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. The Freight Coach Morning Show coming to you live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down 3 transportation industry articles. As you know, we are the top transportation morning show that is out there, and we are just bringing the facts. We are bringing the realities of this industry, and this is brought to you by transportation professionals. At the end of the day, we are here to talk about, sometimes that hard truth that not a lot of people want to hear, but we're here about progress. And as my friend Kyle Littner always used to say, we're providing actionable insight for the future instead of recapping the past. It's one of my favorite taglines of all time. Kyle, what's going on, man?
Not enough. What time is this show on Eastern and Mountain?
It would be on 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Mountain, or 9:30 Mountain.
9:30. Yeah, just checking.
Yeah,
keeping you on your toes.
I know. I'm kind of off my game a little bit with that.
No,
but
not at all.
Where are you at today, man?
I am coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, and apparently as I get older, I'm getting allergies, and it is driving me nuts out here. Bring me back to the urban areas where there is no greenery.
Yeah, I know, right? Either that or you just need to go back down to Miami, man. You got to go down to Florida.
Sure. Yep. That's really what the answer is.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, before we jump in, first and foremost, got to give a shout out to my friends over at Bitfreighter, you guys. They are in a mission to connect the logistics industry with a flat fee for unlimited EDI messaging. Carriers and brokers alike, if you are still paying for EDI character charges on or transaction-based fees with setup costs, you are costing yourself money. You are paying EDI fees for loads that you decline. These guys have flipped the EDI pricing model upside down. With their unlimited EDI messaging pricing and their managed EDI services, it is no longer an expensive and unattainable or painful process. Bitfreighter's managed EDI platform is fully integrated with TMS providers like PCS, DAT Keypoint, Revinova, and EasyLoader to provide a seamless transaction for all of your needs. Take back full control of your EDI by having full access and insight to all of your connections and data. If you're not already looking at ways to make your company more efficient and cost-effective, you now have a platform that'll help you scale with their friends over at Bitfreighter. If you're ready to learn more, visit www.bitfreighter.com to request a demo. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you, actually. That's exactly what's up. Robert Bain is here with us, and he says, two devastatingly handsome, incredibly intelligent humans, game changers. Not everybody has it like you. Yeah, Robert Bain with the Beard Brothers, as Andrew Teal says. And then also, you guys, VHub, they make the show possible every single day. They believe in me. They believe in what we're doing out there. And most importantly, they are all about keeping that 97% of the trucks in operable and on the road and moving freight and profitable and everything else. You guys, asset reutilization is the wave of the future in this industry. As you can see, we still got those round trip opportunities that are out there, you guys. You like when it says you can get paid to reposition this. So if there's any carriers out there listening, you get paid to reposition this trailer up into Canada, and then you can get paid to reposition another one out of Canada. So you can make money on this, and that's on top of the freight that you're going to get the revenue from that freight as well, you guys. So as you can see, there's multiple lanes that are out here for you guys to look at. And then they also have a bunch of trailers needing one-ways up into Canada. So again, you guys, look at that. You get paid $18.50 to reposition these ones out of Virginia up into Winnipeg, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Vancouver. So that's a good route. Check them out, you guys, vhubapp.com, and hit up my man Xavier Campos on this. All right, he's your point of contact over there. So yeah, let's jump in. Kyle, what's up? What are you seeing out there right now, man? There besides a fucking tsunami of back and forth, what's up?
Everything and anything, really. I just learned something though.
What's that?
I used to think that you sat low in the picture to show off the Freight Coach.
Yeah.
But really, it's so that you can drop emphasis bombs when you're talking. Otherwise, your arm would be out of the camera.
I know. I'm fucking Italian, man. So it's like I talk with my hands a lot. It's not going away.
No, it's not going away. You know what else, though? I think rates are going to negative, right? Isn't that
yeah.
We're headed? Spot rates are going to zero. Or maybe like negative 10. You're going to pay people to move their loads for them?
Yeah. Yeah, he's joking, you guys. For those of ones who listening to this on audio only, that is a joke. I promise you that.
There's a smile on my face.
Samantha Bass, good morning. Kyle, it's vhubapp.com. Check it out. And then my man Xavier Campos, you can connect with him on LinkedIn as well. vhubapp.com to check that out. Hey, and just I'm going to remind you guys of this every single day. International Road Check, May 17th through the 19th. We got wheel end components on there. Kyle, you saw this, that the price of gold is up to $5.62 a gallon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant diesel. Did I say gold? I meant diesel.
It is. Yeah. How much is water?
Fuck, I don't know. Free. Where I'm from in northern Wisconsin, free. Go down to the lake.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you bring up the diesel part, because I don't think we're giving enough respect to the possibility that a lot of the line haul only weakness in freight right now is attributable to the rise in diesel prices.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that all in spot rates are definitely weakening right now. But if we try and break it down between what is line haul and what is diesel, it isn't the exact science everyone would like it to be.
Yeah.
It is messy, and I am not by any means saying that rising diesel prices are the cause for dropping spot rates.
Yeah.
They are a possible reason for the extreme drop in the line haul component, only because you get this big file, and this file is the all-in rate, and you have to back out the fuel when you want to separate the fuel and the line haul part of it. It's not straightforward. It's all averages. It's all a guess. The time series isn't synced up. When we have extreme moves in the price because the time series is lagging, there is that possibility that somebody's getting paid on current day. You know, you're booking that load, you're paying them for what that cost of the diesel is. But as far as what the fuel component that's been paid by the shipper is, that's based off last week's DOE number, which is lower. You have to make up for that when you pay the carrier. That doesn't show up in the rate. It takes more out of the line haul part of it. And this is the biggest part to me. Things like breakthrough are not included. So something that is trying to portion off more of the fuel component that's lumped into the old DOE average. And this is my biggest pushback and something I hate about the industry. If you're running a load, say it's intrastate California, you're going from LA to Sacramento.
Yeah.
You know you're going to pay $7 a gallon, right?
Yep.
That's baked into your cost. You're putting it out, whatever anybody says, if they're telling you line haul, all in, whatever they want to tell it, you know, I'm going to spend X on fuel. If you're doing the same thing, Houston to West Texas, it's a whole different price to fill up that. You're paying $3 a gallon, maybe $4.
Yeah.
Your all-in rate looks a lot different for both of those loads.
Yep.
But you're going to get the same fuel surcharge put into that as far as the reporting is concerned.
Very true.
So it's not apples to apples. It's not even apples to oranges. It's like apples to bananas. And again, I'm not saying that the weakness in rates is attributable to diesel. I'm saying when we break it down, it looks worse on the line haul side. And it's not a coincidence that this thing separates in March and has now gotten even worse here in May. Part of that has to be diesel.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's, again, like, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. At the end of the day, you guys, there's a lot of realities that happen in this industry. But it doesn't mean that everything's going to fall apart. You know, that there's rises in fuel prices, and it's always going to be down to, you know, we can only control what we can control. And at the end of the day, we got to execute. All right. Like, there's a lot of variables that are out there. You know, it's learning through these markets, though, that are going to keep you going long term, because a lot of the seasoned veterans who are in this industry have seen this. We've seen the rising fuel prices. We've seen rates fluctuate nonstop. We know how to execute, and we know how to pivot in those times, because, you know, at the end of the day, you're not always going to make $1 million on a load. I know it fucking sucks, but it's the truth. You know, like, you're going to compress your margins that are in there right now. But I mean, rest assured, brokers, if you're looking to capitalize on adding to your book of business right now, when this spot market flips into the broker's favor, guess what? Those failures start to fucking creep up, because greed's a motherfucker, and people are going to try to push those rates down too far. They're going to fail. And then guess what? Get in the door. So fucking polish up those phones, baby. Let's go into cold calling season, because that's what's needed right now, because that's what's going to happen. I've seen this so many times in my career, Kyle. When there are market shifts that are out there, people get greedy, people get lazy. All right. Most importantly, they take their foot off the gas, and they think it's fucking cruise control time. And that's not the case. Dig your heels in and stomp on some fucking throats, because there's going to be some massive opportunities coming up here.
Yeah, couldn't agree. And I think the most important thing right now that you could do in terms of that broker carrier relationship is something I hear you talk about all the time, and that's maintain the relationship. Because in the weird market that we have right now, contract rates are still at all-time highs. So if you want to do your job and what you should be doing, if you can set yourself up on a dedicated run, whether you're that carrier or that broker,
yeah,
the margins are so wide between spot and contract that there is no argument right now. If you can come to somebody and say, I've got this load every single Tuesday, do you want it? And you're also that carrier on the other side of it, and you know that you can take it every Tuesday and you want it. That guy's going to give you a higher price for taking it. And as the broker, you've got plenty of margin to give.
Yeah.
Give yourself that ample time, set yourself up with that dedicated carrier so that you can spend your time searching for those other opportunities instead of this stupid one-off Charlie thing everyone wants to do every time they book a load.
No, exactly. You know, and it's like, where did I put that out yesterday? It's about taking this as removing the transaction from your mindset right now. You become an asset to your customers, you know, and then also become an asset to your carriers as well to help navigate through these market shifts and everything else. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to work with customers who treat you as a transaction and you allow that to happen, get out. There's plenty of shippers out there, you guys, who don't play these games. All right. They don't do it at all. They don't have the time to go back and forth and try and drive down costs. I'm not saying that rate fluctuations won't happen. I'm not saying that rebids won't happen, but they're not as drastic. I've never seen a contracted lane in my career drop $2.50 a mile overnight, ever, in my entire career. Does it fluctuate? Of course it fluctuates, but become an asset, you guys. I guarantee you this, and I'm speaking from experience. I brokered 5 truckloads total in my life. And out of those 5 truckloads that I've only brokered, I know that customers will pay for service. All right. And it's completely being fucking sarcastic out there. You guys have seen this shit happen. Price becomes secondary when you become an asset to your customers and you're not a transaction to them. All right. You can navigate through this shit. Before I forget, we are on day 24 of the Freight Coach Tally, there being a fucking nightmare of a parking issue in this industry, as well as facilities that do not allow drivers to use restrooms and some other crazy shit that I'm seeing. Kyle, some of the stuff that I'm getting from drivers right now is fucking appalling. And I'm checking with my attorney to see if I can put some of this shit out there, because I really don't want to get sued. But at the end of the day, I don't fucking care, because some of this stuff needs to be put out there. It's despicable.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I saw something come across my LinkedIn feed the other day from Cassandra Gaines. I don't think she'll mind me saying the name. She was highlighting a company that's reinstituting their non-competes, and it made me think of that. Like, why? I know why she didn't name the company, but
yeah.
It sucks. You want to get those things out there so that everybody can hear it and say, I'm not going to do business with them. But now you have to fear of being sued from it. It's a messed up system we have as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I got my friends Vitaly talking shit, $1 million a podcast, maybe one day. It's not outside of the realm of possibilities. Yeah, Jason, more with endorsements. It's all right. Those guys, Vitaly and Jason, those guys are all going to get some spots on the shit when it gets up to that big, 250K.
Mr. Andrew Teal has got a really good point here.
He does.
And you kind of alluded to it. I had this conversation with a very, very large shipper last week who told me that this was the director of trans, and he heard some rumors that some of his employees were choosing certain loads to go spot instead of through the routing guide, and immediately put an end to it. Said, we're going to stick with the carriers and the providers that stuck with us last year, and we're going to reward them. Plus, I've already budgeted for this. I don't give a shit. I don't want to waste our time trying to find a new guy to save a few $100. This is what we did when we sent out the RFP. Just run it through it.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, you guys. Again, back to me alluding to price becomes secondary. When you're out there and you're truly a partner, you know, not this fucking social media relationship bullshit a lot of you guys post about, because you're not fucking looking for the relationship. Because if you were, you'd be overpaying your carriers right now to keep them running. You wouldn't be playing this bullshit. And regardless of how awesome you make yourself sound on social media, it does not always equate to reality. And that's what I mean by, as soon as you start fucking pushing back here, you guys, and you start dropping these rates, guess what? There's a lot of shippers who will not have the tolerance to deal with your bullshit. When you look at it from a rolling 12, 18-month cycle, how volatile the market's been, the failures and everything else, this is just opening that door, because there are some sales reps out there who are fucking cutthroat, who are waiting for you to drop the ball, who are in your customer's ear every fucking day right now, hoping you push that rate too far. All right.
Right. That's what that non-compete's really about.
Yeah.
It's the fear that that guy's going to leave and take his book of business to somebody else because he already knows who they are and what they're paying.
Yep.
If they're 10 cents a mile less, then it's a different conversation. It's not about retaining, it's about keeping your customer.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
scummy way to do it.
Fucking it is. But you know, that's the thing. I'm not an attorney or anything like that. And Jesus Christ, don't take legal advice from me by any stretch of the imagination. But I would never sign a non-compete ever again. I would never, you know, if you're bringing accounts into a company, go require an exclusion list if they're going to have anything along those lines, that those accounts that you bring in fucking leave with you as well. Get ahead of that stuff, you guys. Overpaid and buying a yacht. Andrew Teal coming in hot.
You're
Hey, we got some articles.
Yacht?
Yeah, I guess we got some articles.
There's all that big ocean front in Arizona for you.
I know exactly. I got some oceanfront property here out in Phoenix. If anybody's fucking interested right now, just throwing that out there. All right, first article coming from my friends over at the JOC. They are talking about demand keeps pressure on U.S. LTL capacity or rates. So U.S. truckload is slowly adding capacity, but industrial and retail demand is rising faster, filling LTL terminals and trailers and keeping capacity tight. LTL carriers continue to be sitting in a good place. The guy over Rates said over, excuse me, I lost their name. They're Steve Rates over. The irony of Steve Rates, if that's even how you pronounce his last name, but it's Raetz. So I'm going with it.
Oh, it's Rates.
Yeah, from CH. You can add tractors and drivers, but you can only push so much freight through the cross-dock nodes. He said it's going to keep LTL reasonably strong pace from a pricing position. It breaks down a different mode. You know, obviously talking about, for the people who don't know, LTL is obviously less than truckload. TL is truckload, full truckload. Anything above 75% of the trailer, in my opinion, is considered a full truckload because you can't really partial that out or anything like that. But yeah, it also talks about LTL carriers need additional capacity to handle not just temporary spikes, but long-term increase in their volumes propelled by e-commerce. However, capacity in the LTL market expands so much more slowly than in other sectors of trucking. So what are you seeing out there? Because I think LTL is one of those, it fluctuates and it changes, but I think it's kind of like the first to the party and the last one to leave style mode of transportation when it comes to pricing and everything else, because it's a massive sector of the industry.
Yeah, I think right now what's happening, I don't know if I completely agree with Mr. Rates. I think part of the strength in LTL is similar to the strength in intermodal. Mm-hmm. Now that we don't have this shit show of spot, not just rates, but really opportunities. You know, a lot of the high spot rates were because of the amount of loads going spot. Now that things have calmed down, if you're a shipper and you have choices and you have time on your side again, now you can have that conversation about things like LTL, about intermodal, about drop. All that stuff goes out the window as soon as carriers can basically name their price, because no carrier wants to do that. If you have the choice to do the most amount of work or the least amount of work and get paid the same rate, which one are you going to choose?
Yeah,
choose the least. So I mean, you think about this. Who's ever booked a load that has 3 stops on it? You know, it's hard enough to get the guy to say, all right, yeah, even if they're right next to each other. That conversation isn't even happening 6 months ago. The phone's being hung up every time you call. Now, you probably ask a guy to do 7 stops. So you get into that conversation of LTL. The shippers can wait to have their product move, especially if it is not taking the entire trailer. On the opposite side of this, and this was very, very overlooked when things were a little crazier, you had a lot of shippers that were sending 6 pallets, 5,000 pounds on a full trailer because they couldn't wait for intermodal, because they couldn't wait for LTL. They didn't care if it was going transcon. They needed the product now. That isn't the same situation. We have a lot more inventories in the warehouses, and you don't have to get the stuff there tomorrow. You can take your time and take it in a week. That gives you the choice. So there is a layer of demand that's inside of LTL that wasn't necessarily there, not because people didn't want it, but because it wasn't offered.
Yeah. Do you think, based off of what happened in 2020 and 2021, do you think that there was a mass, like purchasers were like, they were over purchasing inventory? Again, like I'm not an inventory expert or anything like that, but do you think that happened? And then was there any inclination, do you think, of like what's kind of going on right now in Shanghai, where they're like, fuck it, we can't risk another shutdown, so let's over order and try and fill up on the, like, you know, you got to think, like, I'm not talking about like seasonal items. I'm talking about the toilet papers, the paper towels, the plastics, the shit that doesn't necessarily change.
Yep. No, you're 100% right. Yes and yes are the answers to that. Obviously, it's anecdotal, but during the peak of the problems, I did have a conversation with a bottled water manufacturer, and you're thinking bottled water, that's lowest of the margins, right?
Yes, I moved it for 5
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
They were paying for California to all points East Coast because they had zero product on the shelves. Didn't care about cost. It was already a loss. Their concern was losing a customer to another product, to a competitor, and they couldn't risk that. So for them, price didn't matter. You know, they were paying between 12 and 15,000 to have their loads moved, which is the opposite of what goes on in a bottled water. But they couldn't wait. Intermodal was way too long. LTL is not an option. Had to go full truckload. And then now, you know, that same type of mentality, though, that was existent before. Other shippers told me the same thing. We've not only made it a priority to rebuild our inventories, but we have ordered more than we potentially need because we can't have this problem happen again. So I don't think anybody necessarily saw Shanghai lockdown and some of the other ports being closed. Maybe they did, but there was enough of a concern for something like that to force them to order. And that was certainly the case with why we had so much volume. You know, if people think about this, the worst months rates wise was actually January and February, which is a little counter seasonal rate, but it was a carryover of all of this inventory that needed to get moved, which I think also can help explain why we've seen such a large drop. You know, we should have seen a more gradual decline from basically Christmas, New Year's, right?
Yeah.
Instead, it got busier in January, which doesn't make sense. And that persisted into February, which also doesn't make sense. So, you know, part of the reason the drop is so steep is because the increase was so steep. And that is because there was some non-traditional movement. And I think that non-traditional movement is what you were getting at. It's an over order of inventories to restock and rebuild so that we don't have the stock out problems that we had, you know, in the dark days of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although I still have stuff at the store that's not on the shelves by me.
Yeah, me too. There's a couple of dwindling things that are out there. Got to give some shout outs. Thank God for trucking. Good morning. What's going on? Renee Johnson. Good morning. Yeah. Nick Rumor, it's your fucking fault that there was no toilet paper there because you overbought. If you still have them from 2 years ago, I'm just kidding. Good morning, Nick. Papa Freight. What's going on, Steven? And
good evening for Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Good evening for Nick. That's true. The year-end quarterly reports back up. The ideas kept shelf stock survived. In some cases, like us, thrived. Yeah, Vitaly, you know, he's on a certain side of this industry that knows exactly what we're talking about from that. If you guys are smart enough to piece it together, you can take it from there. That article was from the JOC. Demand keeps pressure on U.S. LTL capacity and rates. Second article we're going to jump into today was written by FreightWaves. Truckload linehaul spot rate drop accelerates under pressure from surging diesel prices. And Kyle, I'll let you take this one because you wanted to talk about, you know, we were kind of emphasizing on that earlier today on diesel prices. So what was your initial feedback from this?
Yeah, I kind of let the cat out of the bag earlier. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, it's all good.
It is that what we were saying earlier, that a lot of the weakness in the line haul only portion component is due to the surging diesel prices. I think the easiest way to explain it, actually, I saw it in the comments. Andrew Teal mentioned it. If you think of rates as a pie and the slice of it that is diesel has gotten bigger, the slice remaining that is line haul is now smaller. There it is. That's I left that part out, and that's why this is becoming such a big problem. Is diesel went from being 23 cents a mile when rates were $2.50, and now they're 80 cents of $2. So the ratio proportion is out of control, which means its significance gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if there is an error in the way that it's reporting, that error is magnified, and that's part of what we're seeing now. That's why when you look at all-in rates, they are definitely down, but they're not down as much as the line haul part. And it isn't because line haul is extra weak. It's because diesel's extra strong. You know, it is what it is, and you hate to say it, but when a broker's receiving the business from the shipper, it looks a lot different than when that broker's transacting with the carrier as far as the payment component is concerned. There is no segmenting out when you book that truck. You just pay him a rate. You know, it's up to him to determine how he allocates that. And we're doing it with this weird fuel surcharge component that is not constant throughout every way that it is reported.
No, definitely. Dedicated Trucking, what's up? I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry. I meant to get back to you on that. That's my bad. Yeah, we'll jump on the horn. Yeah, no, you're right, man. I think that again, there's so many different variables that go in. It's not as cut and dry as we want to make it like we want to make it seem sometimes. I wish it was as simple as, hey, here's a contracted rate, here's a spot market rate, and that's kind of it. There's so many different variables that are out there that attract to that because it's not a set rate per mile across every lane in the country that's out there. I mean, it might be a couple of different, like if you pull, say Houston, Texas going up to Kansas City or Dallas to Kansas City, it's probably going to be within a couple of pennies of each other, but it's still a different overall line haul. It's still a different price overall that looks at it. So it's not as cut and dry as we think. And diesel fuel is definitely going to play a part into it, especially if you're a shipper that whether you report as a pass-through expense onto you and offer a fuel surcharge, or if you're one who just requires an all-in rate and you don't necessarily do that. So it's like, that's where you're going to kind of see that balancing act that you're going to need on there. Yeah, this is one of those articles. I mean, I thought there was some good information in there. I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't by any stretch of the imagination. It gives a good breakdown. And I like the emphasis on fuel because I think that that's going to keep a lot of those smaller carriers in business and operating right now and knowing how to get that quoted properly to pass that through. And
it's
then
part
also
of a bigger problem in the industry, right? We don't have any set of standards for anything.
Correct.
And what forces the fragmentation and the difference in reporting and data metrics throughout, because everyone's got a different way of doing it. We all just kind of smash it together and then we all throw our hands up and wonder why it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And I think like looking into more of a uniform way of that, because, again, that's the gift and the curse of a highly fragmented market is it's really tough to tackle and get a kind of a set overall fuel. Because again, I've had large shippers that I've worked with, Kyle, that it didn't matter what the national average was for fuel. They set it at whatever the hell they wanted to set it at.
Right. That's a whole different layer then. And that's something people that go into those RFPs, they're aware of that, and you adjust your rates as needed. Some shippers pay less in fuel. All right. Well, I know when I have to put it in and they're asking, please quote line haul only. Well, I have to increase my line haul to this particular shipper because when I go to cover it, I'm paying on a different fuel table, or I'm competing with everyone who's doing this on an all in. Yeah. I need to match to it. And the same goes on the opposite. There's smarter brokers who understand that some shippers are a little easier with the fuel component of it. Well, I can quote technically cheaper because I'm going to get that made up for in the fuel. And then when I go to book the truck, which is the all in, it's going to offset. So everyone's got different rules. Everyone's got a different way of doing it. And we all just throw it in one big pile and then complain about it on shows like this.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That article was from FreightWaves. Again, it was truck haul, line haul, spot rate drop, accelerates, under pressure from surging diesel fuel prices. Yeah, Josh Harrison's out here. Spot freight is also generally quoted all in, and contracts are set up line haul before fuel. Yep. No, definitely. I appreciate that. Dedicated Trucking. Joe D'Angelo, what's up? We break out fuel surcharge on every transaction to the carrier. It gives us a baseline of line haul for our business. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that that's a definite way of doing it. I know we don't have time to get into the last article, but just a brief, it was talking about Pete Buttigieg.
I've got all the time in the world for you, Chris.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's go a couple minutes over. Fuck it, it's my show. Buttigieg touts infrastructure grant proposal. God damn, there's so much. Like, I want to say yes, this is awesome, but I hate the fucking the out clauses in there. Yep. Kyle, it fucking despises me. Again, I will say this till I'm blue in the face. I am fucking 100% pro business in America. American-made products should be built on the American infrastructure. All right, plain and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot convince me otherwise. All right, we need I hate the fact that there's fucking outs, because as a publicly traded corporation, again, I'm not saying that this is what they will do, but if you could buy from America at $10, but you could buy from a foreign country at $4, which one are you going to go with? If it's an infrastructure bill that is set to fix the infrastructure of the United States of America, it needs to be American-made steel, American-made products, no fucking out clauses.
I agree. I have no retort for that. It is very frustrating that And to answer your question, yes, Andrew, that's exactly what it is. It's another variable thrown into the mix that people account for that are aware of it, but when we report it, we don't have it. If you were going to dedicate U.S. tax dollars to something, why would it not stay in-house? Why are we going to facilitate more of importing stuff from elsewhere? The other issue that bothers me with that is you see the big headline, you see the government's getting involved and they're dedicating a bunch of money to the industry, and you get super excited because you think, here comes the resources to fix all of the problems that we have. And then it's not. It ends up being, we're going to expand the terminals at a port. That's not really the problem right now.
Yeah.
The problem is everything that we've been discussing. The lack of connectivity, the fragmentation inside of the market, the technical and software components that are not structured. That's the infrastructure that we need, not more roads and more port terminals. For me, it feels like when there's construction on the highway by your house and you get super excited, but you see that they're not expanding it where the actual bottleneck is. They're just adding more lanes prior to it.
Yeah.
So we're going to have more port stuff so that people can import, and that wasn't the problem, isn't with the amount of stuff that was coming into LA. It was everything that happens after it's here.
Yeah.
So great. We'll facilitate more stuff showing up to the ports, but we won't fix any of the stuff that happens once it's on U.S. shores.
Yeah. It's just wild to me, because it's like, again, I get so frustrated. And then it's like, you look at what happened yesterday when the Biden administration canceled fucking oil leases in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico as well. So again, I don't get overly political on this show until it comes down to our industry. And frankly, that article that was written by Transport Topic News about Buttigieg touting the infrastructure grant, I think it's a slap in the face to American business, plain and simple. I think a lot of that shit is a complete fucking fuck you to the working class in our country when so many people are out there looking for jobs. And like, how many small businesses could that help out there, with having that and that emphasis on made in America, the Rust Belt and everything out there in Pennsylvania and fucking all that, they could benefit from all of that stuff. And then furthermore, with the fuel prices being what it is right now, and then our administration putting stuff in there to prohibit fossil fuels and stuff, I just don't like it. I think it's just a massive slap in the face.
Yeah, let the people choose where they want to spend their money.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if we really are upset with what's happened from COVID and the reliance on overseas for the beginning of the supply chain, and we want more stuff here, why not facilitate that with how we spend our money, right?
Yeah.
Let's, like you said, those are U.S. jobs. If we had more oil production here, that's not just the what's the literal fuel for the engines, but it's how many jobs get added because of that. And yes, I get it. Things are supposed to go green. It doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
There can be money invested in more than one area. We shouldn't dedicate all dollars for just electric vehicles. Not to mention, I hate to beat the dead horse and get on my soapbox, but when you plug in your electric vehicle at night, where do you think that power is coming from?
I don't know, Kyle. It doesn't
61% of all power plants in the United States are coal fired. So I don't want to hear that it's green.
I know, man. And that's the thing is, like, again, it's the at the end of the day, you guys do your own research. All right. Don't just look at an industry headline or a headline of anything and think that that's gospel, because there's a lot of layers to this stuff. There really is. And frankly, I will never apologize for being America first and pro-America and pro-job and everything and keeping shit here. I will never apologize for that at all, because at the end of the day, we should have zero foreign dependence on fucking anything. All right. We should have zero foreign dependence on anything. And I think we're seeing a lot of that right now. And again, get vocal, do your part in your local community and everything else. And, and it'll all trickle up from there. And, here we are. So that's kind of it for today, guys. I know we went a couple minutes over. I appreciate it. Kyle, as always, thanks for joining me, man.
Good seeing you. This is becoming a trend of us going over.
It is. And because we're fucking out here doing, speaking reality. Because at the end of the day, my goal, you guys, is not to be right. All right. My goal is not to be right at all, because I'm not right 100% of the time. But for me, it's just providing alternative feedback to a lot of the stuff that is out there. Okay. Like we need to understand that there are very real things that happen, but just because a certain headline is one thing doesn't mean that the fucking world is going to end. All right. We got to find solutions, plain and simple. Anybody out there who's watching the show, you're in freight right now, you got to find a solution. Yeah, there's some really fucked up things that are happening and can happen, but guess what? There's a solution for it if you want it. If you want to quit, there's a lot of motherfuckers who would love to wallow with you in sorrow. All right. But if you want to dig your feet in and make a change and make a meaningful difference in your business, in your life, there's a fucking solution out there. So Kyle, how can anybody find you though, man?
Usually lurking on LinkedIn. You can probably find me there.
He's always wearing a suit, you guys. I fucking FaceTime with him at 6 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, and he's still suited up just because. All right, you guys. Well, hey, this is live on YouTube. The audio version will be out on the podcast, Coffee with the Freight Coach. You guys know how to find me. Subscribe and share this out if you guys see value in this, because chances are if you see value in this, others in your network are going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys all so much. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Central for the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top transportation morning show. We will